The envelope felt heavier than I expected. Inside, I saw papers neatly stacked, and on the top, in familiar handwriting, was my name. I sat on the old bed, the one we had shared for years, and took a long, shaky breath. Outside, dusk was settling, and the shadows in the house felt familiar now, no longer threatening. I opened the envelope slowly, almost like I was unwrapping a gift I wasn't ready to receive. Inside were legal documents, property deeds, bank certificates, and a handwritten letter. My eyes welled up as I read the words written so carefully by someone I loved and lost. "My dear Clara," it began, "if you're reading this, it means I am no longer there to tell you myself. I kept some secrets, not to hurt you, but to protect you from worry. Over the years, I invested our savings in various properties and businesses. We don't just have our little countryside home. There are 6 other properties, including the apartment where Lily and Thomas live. We also own shares in 3 companies that are far more valuable than you can imagine. You are wealthy now, Clara. Not just in spirit, but in reality." I felt my hands shake as I sifted through the documents. Deeds for houses scattered across the city, a downtown condo, a small seaside motel, and even the 20-story apartment building where my daughter lived. All this, quietly managed, all in my name as the sole owner of a company I had never known existed. Bank statements revealed accounts with figures that seemed unreal. Tom, who had driven buses for 40 years, had quietly become a genius investor. Every sacrifice we had made, every penny we had saved, had multiplied in silence. And now, it was all mine to discover. In his letter, Tom explained that he had kept this a secret to shield me and our daughter, Lily, from the burden of money. "You know Lily," he wrote, "if she realized the extent of our wealth, her love might change. I wanted her to love us for who we are, not for what we have." The irony was almost cruel. Our daughter had left us thinking we had nothing, when in reality, we had everything. That night, I wandered the house, touching the old furniture and the knickknacks Lily had always scorned as outdated. I paused by the family photographs on the wall, especially the one where she was 5, sitting on Tom's lap, laughing with her whole heart. Where had that warm little girl gone? When did she become so distant, so calculating? The next morning, the phone rang early. It was Lily. Her voice sounded softer, almost hesitant, but I had learned to listen closely to every inflection. "Mom, how are you? I just wanted to tell you we transferred the money from the house and the car into your account. It's not much, but it should help while you look for something smaller." "My share?" I asked, keeping my voice steady. "Yes, Mom. We made sure you got 30%. That's fair, right? Thomas has a business opportunity in Europe, so we need the rest for that." I exhaled slowly. 30% of all that wealth. How generous. "And when are you leaving?" I asked. "This afternoon. We'll be gone at least 6 months, maybe longer. But don't worry, Mom. When we return, we'll help you find a cozy apartment, something perfect for you." "Perfect for me?" She barely knew what that meant. "Okay, Lily. Have a safe trip," I said softly. "Oh, Mom. I knew you'd understand. You've always been so compassionate. We love you so much." And just like that, she hung up. I stood there, phone in hand, and for the first time in months, I laughed. Really laughed. A sound I hadn't realized I'd missed since Tom passed away. I had driven past the old house hundreds of times in my mind, but now seeing it in reality felt different. The house looked just as I remembered, small, painted a soft cream color, with a porch that overlooked the ocean. A few potted plants now adorned the steps, but everything else remained unchanged. I parked across the street and sat on the curb, staring at it for an hour. Memories came rushing back, summer afternoons when Lily was little, running barefoot on the beach and building sandcastles. Tom grilling fish while I tossed salads in the kitchen. Lily bringing friends over, then boyfriends, then Thomas. All those moments, now reduced to a cold, transactional decision in her mind. An older man stepped out of the house and noticed me sitting there. He approached slowly, with genuine concern. "Are you all right, ma'am?" he asked. "Yes, thank you. I'm just remembering," I replied, forcing a small smile. "I knew the former owners?" he asked, curious. "Yes, very well," I said quietly. "What a shame about everything that happened. They told us the elderly lady was ill and needed to sell quickly. We thought we got a great deal, but apparently the sale wasn't legal. We had to return the house." "Did you know them personally?" "No, not really. All communication was through intermediaries. But they said the daughter was handling everything because the mother couldn't." The man shook his head, pity in his eyes. What a sad situation. I wanted to tell him he had no idea just how sad it really was. But I simply nodded. "Yes, very sad. Glad to hear you didn't lose your money, at least," he added. "Yes," I said softly. "Everything worked out, luckily." But even as I walked away, a heaviness lingered in my chest. It wasn't just the money that hurt, it was the ease with which Lily had manipulated the truth. She had crafted a story about my supposed illness, used my vulnerability as justification for her actions. To her, I wasn't a mother with feelings, I was an obstacle to be removed. That night, after the waves had quieted and the house was silent around me, I picked up the phone and dialed Mr. Peterson again. My heart was heavy, but my resolve was stronger than ever. It was time to uncover everything, no matter how long it took. I stood there, feeling the weight of everything, watching Tom's careful plan unfold even after his death. "Thank you, my love," I whispered to the sky. "Thank you for taking care of me, even now." The next morning, Mr. Peterson called early. "Mrs. Brooks, I have news. Your daughter has arrived in the country. She's at the airport, alone." "Alone?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. "Yes. Apparently, Thomas stayed in Europe. There are rumors of a big fight." "I see. Did you send the letter?" "I'm sending it today. She should receive it tomorrow." I hung up and stood in the kitchen, a mix of nervousness and anticipation twisting in my stomach. Weeks of careful planning had led to this moment, the first real move in a game long in the making. Lily was about to discover that her mother was far from the defenseless woman she thought me to be. She arrived at her apartment on Tuesday night. Aurora, my ever-watchful neighbor, came to me the next day with all the details. "Clara, your daughter returned last night. She had only one suitcase. She looked terrible, pale, with dark circles under her eyes, as if she'd been crying the entire flight. Completely alone. And something odd, when the doorman asked for her keys, she didn't have them. She had to get in through the superintendent's emergency copy." A chill ran down my spine, but underneath it, I felt a surge of power. The tables were turning. The girl who thought she had outsmarted me had no idea what was coming next. It was almost poetic, I thought. Thomas had chosen to name the company after himself, Thomas Investments Incorporated. Even in death, he had found a way to watch over me and, perhaps, to teach our daughter a lesson. Mr. Peterson called that afternoon. "Mrs. Brooks, the letter was delivered an hour ago. The doorman confirmed your daughter received it in person." "Perfect," I said quietly. "How long does she have?" 30 days to vacate, as per legal standards." He paused, his tone hesitant. "Mrs. Brooks, are you sure you want to do this? She's your daughter, after all." I smiled bitterly. "Mr. Peterson, my daughter kicked me out of my own home with a 2-minute phone call. She sold my things without asking. She treated me like I was disposable. Now, she's going to learn that actions have consequences." "I understand," he replied softly. "I just wanted to make sure you'd considered all the implications." "I have, Mr. Peterson," I said firmly. "All of them." That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept imagining Lily's face as she read the letter, the confusion, the disbelief, the growing panic. She would probably think it was a mistake, or maybe a scam. But when she called to verify, she'd realize everything was perfectly legal. My hands trembled, not from guilt, but from anticipation. At 8 in the morning, the phone rang. Right on time. "Mom," she said breathlessly, her voice breaking. "Mom, I need to talk to you. It's urgent." "Good morning, honey. How was Europe?" "Mom, I don't have time for that. I got a strange letter yesterday. It says I have to vacate my apartment in 30 days. It has to be a mistake, right? Please tell me you know something about this. An eviction notice?" "How strange," I said softly. "From whom?" "From a company I've never heard of." "Wait, let me find the letter. Yes, Thomas Investments Incorporated. Do you know it?" My heart twisted. He had used his own name. How poetic. "No, sweetheart," I said gently. "I've never heard of that company." "Are you sure the letter's legitimate?" "That's what I'm trying to find out," she said, her voice trembling. "Mom, I need your help. I don't know what to do. Thomas left me in Europe, he ran off with another woman. And now I come back to this. I don't understand what's happening." There it was, the confirmation. Thomas had abandoned her. Probably when the money ran out, or when he realized the legal troubles back home were too much. Poor Lily. She had sacrificed her family for a man who was never worth it. "I'm so sorry, honey," I said softly. "Where are you now?" "I'm at the apartment, but I don't know for how long." "Mom, can I come see you? Please. I have no one else." The irony was sharp, almost cruel. Now that she had lost everything, she remembered she had a mother. "Of course, sweetheart. Come over whenever you want. I'm on my way." When I hung up the phone, I caught my reflection in the mirror. I took a deep breath. I had to be perfect for this performance. I put on my most conservative gray dress, tied my hair into a neat bun, and practiced the expression of a worried but forgiving mother. When Lily arrived an hour later, I was taken aback. She looked fragile, pale, thin, her eyes red from crying, her once elegant clothes wrinkled and stained. "Mom," she whispered. For a moment, I thought she might hug me. But she stopped, as if remembering how she had left me behind. "Come in, honey," I said softly. Would you like some coffee? Yes, please. We sat in the kitchen, the same table where I had read Thomas's letter weeks ago. Lily looked small in that chair, lost, almost like the little girl who used to come running to me with her school troubles. "Mom," she said quietly, "I'm so sorry. For the way I left. For everything. It's in the past, honey," I whispered, though my chest tightened. "No, it's not," she said, tears filling her eyes. "I treated you terribly. I said horrible things. And now," her voice cracked, "now I have no one." Her words hung in the air like a confession, raw, trembling, human. For a brief moment, I almost felt my heart soften. But then I remembered the nights I cried alone, the day she sold the house without warning, the voice that once told me I was too old to understand. Still, I reached out, placed my hand gently over hers, and said, "You have me, Lily. You've always had me." Inside, though, I knew this was only the beginning. She thought this was reconciliation. But for me, it was revelation. I smiled quietly to myself, swirling the wine in my glass, the same bottle Thomas had been saving for special occasions. It had been a long time since I'd had a reason to celebrate. But this was no ordinary occasion. The game had begun, and for the first time in months, I held all the good cards. Lily moved into my house the very next day. She arrived with 2 suitcases and a single cardboard box, the remnants of her previous life. I watched silently as she unpacked in her old room, the same one she had slept in as a teenager. Every movement betrayed her humiliation. The girl who once commanded luxury now navigated the small space like a stranger in a prison of her own making. "Mom," she said hesitantly, holding up a manila envelope, "I found this in the apartment. It was among Thomas's things. It has your name on it." Another one of Thomas's envelopes, I think. My heart skipped a beat, but I kept my face calm, serene, even curious. "Your name?" I echoed softly, letting the surprise sound natural. "Yes," she said, handing it to me. "Look." I took it slowly, savoring the moment. I could feel the shift in the room, the invisible weight of destiny settling around us. Lily's eyes darted nervously to mine, searching, questioning, and yet hesitant. She didn't realize yet that the rules of this game had changed. For decades, Thomas had orchestrated a legacy hidden in silence, and I had now taken up the baton. Every property, every bank account, every document had been waiting for this moment, not for revenge alone, but for revelation. She would understand soon enough that the life she had taken for granted had roots far deeper than her schemes could ever touch. I opened the envelope slowly, pretending to examine the documents carefully, letting the tension stretch between us. Her breathing was uneven, her once confident posture now cracked with uncertainty. I sipped my wine, letting it mark the victory I already felt. "Everything, it's all here," I said softly. "All of it, Lily. Your father, he wanted you to see this one day, but perhaps he also wanted you to understand something else first." Her hands trembled. I don't understand. Why would he leave this to me? Why now?" I looked at her calmly, eyes steady. "Because, my dear, some lessons can only be learned at the bottom. And now that you've hit it, you can finally see the truth. You've lost the comforts you took for granted, and yet, you still have the choice to act with honesty, courage, and heart. The rest is up to you." She sank into a chair, overwhelmed, staring at the papers I held. For the first time in years, Lily saw her mother not as a helpless woman to be manipulated, but as a force she could never ignore. I poured another glass of wine for myself, silently savoring the quiet victory. The game had begun. And for the first time, I felt alive, powerful, and unbreakable. Outside, the sunset painted the sky in fiery gold and crimson, the perfect backdrop for the reckoning to come. For Lily, the journey had only just begun. But for me, Clara, the story had already shifted. I was no longer the mother who would be silenced. I was the one holding the cards, and she would soon learn that some lessons are carved in fire, not whispered in words. You treated me horribly, Lily said bitterly, her voice trembling. I took your house, your truck, your things, all to give to a man who abandoned me at the first opportunity. And now, here we are, two poor women trying to survive, because of me. It's in the past, Lily, I replied softly. We'll be okay. No, it's not, she said, tears welling. Now we're both in trouble because of my mistakes. You lost everything Dad left you, and I lost my marriage and my future. We're just two poor women trying to survive. If only she knew. At that very moment, I had more money than she could imagine. I was the owner of the very building where she lived, and I could solve all her problems with a single phone call. But it wasn't time yet. The next day, we went to the bank. Lily was nervous, hopeful. I maintained my act as the confused widow, fumbling over paperwork and feigning ignorance of finance. The bank employee led us to the safety deposit boxes, verified my ID, and opened box number 247. Inside, treasures gleamed under the soft fluorescent light, rings, necklaces, bracelets, earrings. Some were heirlooms from Thomas's family, others completely new. There was also a letter detailing the origin and approximate value of each piece. Lily gasped. Mom, this must be worth a fortune. You think so? I asked calmly, letting the wonder stretch. Yes, look at this emerald and the pearl necklace. Dad saved a treasure here. According to Thomas's letter, the jewels were worth approximately $200,000, a fortune to some, yet a mere drop compared to the rest of my assets. It was like finding a few coins under the sofa when you have $1 million in the bank. What do we do with this, Mom? Lily asked, her eyes wide, calculating. I don't know, honey. They're family memories, I said softly. But Mom, we could sell some of them. With this money, we could get the beach house back, and I could pay off some of Edward's debts. There it was again. Even when she discovered something valuable, her first thought was to fix the problems Edward had caused. She hadn't learned a thing yet. Are you sure you want to use your father's inheritance to pay Edward's debts? I asked carefully. What other option do I have, Mom? She said, frustration creeping into her voice. If I don't pay something soon, the banks will foreclose on everything. And technically, I don't own anything. Everything is in Edward's name. I let her stew for a moment. Think carefully, honey. Once you sell these jewels, you won't be able to get them back. I know, she said, resigned. But what else can I do? I can't get a job with all these legal claims pending. No employer will touch someone with this many problems. We took the jewels home, and she spread them across the kitchen table, examining each piece, calculating which ones to sell and which to keep. It was painful to watch her reduce decades of family history into numbers on a spreadsheet. Mom, she said one afternoon, counting the bills, I think I can get $180,000 for the jewels. It's less than I expected, but it's enough to pay the most urgent debts. I sipped my tea quietly, smiling inwardly. She was still blind to the truth, that her mother had always been in control, silently holding all the power. And soon, she would understand that every decision has its consequences, and every treasure carries a lesson. Seeing Lily, once so proud and entitled, now preparing to clean offices at night broke my heart. But strangely, it also filled me with pride. For the first time, she was facing reality without expecting someone else to solve her problems. Are you sure you can handle so much physical work? I asked gently. I'll have to learn, she said, determination flickering in her tired eyes. I can't keep being a burden to you, Mom. It's bad enough that you're letting me live here for free. This is your home too, I said softly. No, Mom, she insisted. This is your home, and I'm here because of your generosity. But I'm not going to take advantage of it forever. I smiled faintly, sipping my tea. It was strange, watching the girl who had once scorned me now speak with humility. The irony of life was not lost on me. That night, while Lily was on her first cleaning shift, Aurora came to visit. She settled into the kitchen chair across from me, her eyes sweeping over the family photos lining the walls. Clara, I have to ask you something, she began cautiously. Did you know Lily was going to come back like this? I raised an eyebrow. What do you mean? Well, Aurora said, leaning forward, when she left, she was so sure of herself, so arrogant. She talked endlessly about the life she would have in Europe, how successful Thomas was, how she was going to achieve everything. And now, she's back, completely broken, working a cleaning job, living with you again. Did you plan this? I took a slow sip of my tea, smiling faintly but letting the question hang in the air. Aurora's gaze searched mine, trying to detect any hint of manipulation. I didn't plan every detail, I said softly, but I always knew she would eventually have to face reality. Life has a way of teaching lessons we refuse to learn otherwise. Aurora shook her head, almost in disbelief. And you've been so calm the entire time. You let her live here, struggle, even work, while knowing you hold all the cards. Yes, I admitted, my voice steady. Sometimes the greatest lesson comes not from taking away, but from letting someone confront the consequences of their own actions. She needed this, whether she knows it yet or not. Aurora nodded slowly, understanding dawning in her eyes. I've never seen you like this before. Strong, patient, powerful. I smiled faintly, thinking of Thomas and the careful plans he had laid down, now coming to fruition. It hasn't been easy, I said. But some lessons are worth waiting for.